Welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The Pen Leader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the business of building futures. And I have with me Mr. Jim Pollock, who is the president of Junior Achievement of Northwest Ohio. He is also the founder of the Fifth Year Experience, a growing movement helping high school graduates slow down, breathe, and take control of their futures before jumping into college. Drawing from his own comeback story and career journey, Jim empowers students to take control of their lives, developing purpose, financial clarity, and real-world experience before committing to their next step. The Fifth Year Movement gives young adults a structured gap year built around internships, financial literacy, personal development, and intentional decision-making, helping them launch into life successfully. So without further ado, welcome, Jim.
Well, thank you, Shanda. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. So thank you.
Excellent. I haven't seen you in a long time. And then one day we go to a meeting and there you are doing this great work. So I want to commend you for the great work that you're doing.
Well, I thank you and you as well for everything you're doing. I think it's incredible. So very fun to listen to.
Thank you. Thank you. So for our listeners, you need to understand is really the last time before that we saw each other, we were in high school together.
Yes. We won't say how long ago or how many years or decades, but yes, it has been a few years since our paths have crossed for sure.
That's right. And look at us now.
Look, who would have thought, huh? Who would have thought?
That's right. So, but the reason why he's on the show is, of course, I have a nice place in my heart for Maumee High School, but it's also because of the great work that he's doing. So I'm going to start off because a number of listeners don't know what that is about this fifth year experience. But what values guide you when you're leading an organization that impacts young people's futures and coming up with this fifth year movement?
Well, the fifth year movement is really my life's calling. I would tell you, even since when we graduated from high school years ago, I graduated lost, not really sure what I was doing next, didn't really know my path. And I thought I was unique. I thought maybe I was the only one. But in reality, now, over the last several years, I've noticed that these same kids today are struggling. They're not successfully launching in life. You have a community and corporations and organizations that are starving for talent, can't find the next generation. People haven't found their purpose. They don't know what they're supposed to do for work. They can't find what it is they're supposed to be doing. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to give students a deliberate opportunity to discover what they're doing next so that they can meaningfully pursue that path. And that's the sad reality of where we're at right now with young people graduating from high school. As many of them are lost, and every scientific study shows you that they're struggling. You look at mental anxiety and depression and just all of those in the next generation have increased exponentially. And what can we do to help that? And I think helping them discover their purpose and finding a meaningful path in life, whatever that is next, it should be a priority for everybody.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I think back at high school, you're still maturing. You're not quite there. They talk about like how your brain still takes time, right, to mature. And so these are some major life-changing decisions. It's like almost like you have to make quickly. And for some, it's easy to make, but others, they're challenged. They're like, I'm not sure if I really want to go into college, spend all that money, and then have a lot of changes. And it used to be statistic would say there are students who change their major 5 times to try to find a path. And I think what you're doing here in the fifth year experience, if you're not ready, it gives you that kind of cushion opportunity actually to also learn what you do and what you don't want to do.
Yeah, and it's even if you're graduating from high school and you know that you want to go to college, your heart's set on that, but you've never experienced it. I mean, if you think about a traditional college student's journey, their junior, senior year before they get their first internship, before they get their first real meaningful experience. And a lot of students get to that and they're like, oh no, this isn't really what I wanted to do. They thought they wanted to be an accountant and they do an internship in accounting firm like, oh, this isn't what I want to do at all. And then they're changing majors. So what if we flipped the script and kind of disrupted that space and said, let's start to get high school graduates these same meaningful internships before they have to select their path. Let's find a way to get them to meaningfully experience what their future world could look like to help them validate it. And that's the big area that we're moving towards, is bringing experiential learning earlier in their life cycle, right after they graduate from high school. And we're proving out that great things are happening. When you put young people that have a drive and determination and an aspiration, regardless of what their high school GPA was, you put them in the right space, surround them with the right people, great things are going to happen. And that's what we've been blessed to watch happen over the last 2 years as we've developed and launched the 5th year.
That's excellent. I think about junior achievement, and I remember back what it looked like back a number. We're not going to say a few years ago.
Yeah.
But it also depends on strong community and corporate partnerships.
Yep.
What's the key to building those?
Well, I think a big key is finding the companies that believe in the community and want to give back and want to build their own talent from within. Every community has a struggle with people leaving their community. Certainly in our area, everybody's worried about the kids graduating and leaving. They're going off to school out of state, and then they're never coming back. So why not take and work with the students that are growing up in our own community, connect with them earlier in their education journey, and figure out how to get them connected so they stay here. And the corporate leaders that are seeing that are looking for different ways to look for talent. They're not waiting until kids graduate from college necessarily, or until they wander off and kind of end up lost. They're like, let's take a look at these 17 and 18-year-old young adults that have a drive and determination, and let's start working with them in meaningful ways. And I think that's a different narrative than what's been told to a lot of corporate partners and organizations. The typical is wait till kids graduate from college. Well, sadly, that number is decreasing, and the number of students that are coming out the other end may not necessarily be who the corporate leaders want. And also what I've learned is, I have a very unique position, I would say, where I sit in the community. I have great connections with the higher education presidents, universities. I have great relationships with superintendents and principals throughout the region. I also have communication and connection with dozens of corporate leaders in our community, as well as parents. And I was a parent of recent high school graduates. So I know the desperate need and desire for kids to graduate successfully, for parents to want to have their kids launch successfully, for schools to feel like they successfully launched their kids. And then the other side of it is companies finding their future talent. So it comes back to those corporate leaders as saying, hey, we're going to do things differently. We're going to think differently. We're going to be visionary, and we're going to go find the kids that are growing up in our neighborhoods and help them be part of our future talent.
That goes right to the heart of my next question. I'm always thinking about how are they preparing them? So really, junior achievement specifically, because you've got this opportunity to have these partnerships. So say, for example, I'm a corporation, I'm listening, and I'm like, you know what, I want to try this. How are you preparing the students to think like those entrepreneurs and those leaders, to get them ready to go into an organization, or to really get them ready to even maybe launch on their own? So what are your thoughts on that? How do you do it?
Well, I think the real is getting the kids exposed to what's out there and helping them understand that the world is much bigger than what they've seen in their first 12 years of high school or 13 years of school. You think about a young person going from kindergarten through the senior in high school, a lot of them haven't seen anything. They don't really know what the world is like out there. And typically, most of the kids, a very high percentage of students that go on to college then pursue degrees of what their parents do or their uncle or the neighbor. It's kind of like you can't be what you can't see. One of my favorite people in our community, Christine Sweeney, who's a wonderful friend of mine, coined that phrase years ago, and I told her I'm going to steal it and use it. But she said it a long time ago, you can't be what you can't see.
That's
so
true.
How can we help kids see more and be exposed to things? And you never know what may light a fire and encourage them to pursue something that they'd never thought of.
So, really, as we're talking about students preparing and going into the workforce, the corporations are looking at them. How are you preparing those students to go ahead and either go into the workforce to work for the corporations or be entrepreneurs themselves?
Well, here's what we know, what company leaders are telling me is they're not necessarily hiring for skills, they're hiring for traits, and they will teach you the skills. We hear time and time again that some people say, it doesn't really matter where you went to college. It doesn't necessarily matter what your degree is. And do you have the skills that I'm going to need to do the job? And I think that starts with the base level of traits. So how do we help elevate those base level traits and skills that young people have? Because companies, They want to know if they hire you that they can put you in front of customers that you're going to be able to communicate and carry on a conversation, see different views of opinion, solve problems, think critically. They want to know if they put you on a team that you're going to show up and be dedicated and do everything you can to promote their efforts as a company. It isn't necessarily about what your degree was in or where you went to school. It's, do you have those base level skills? And so we know that those are some of the most sought after skills coming out. So the fifth year in of itself is a deliberate career discovery experiential year. So high school students that graduate from high school, some of them we have in our program now, they're like, I know exactly why I want to go to college. I know exactly why, but I want to go get some experience to validate it. We have students that are like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I've got 7 things I'm interested. So we bring them into the program to let them experience and see and discover all these other things. And we have some kids like, I'm kind of interested in the military. I know I don't want to go to college. I have 0 interest in college. But I don't know what career I want to pursue. Mm-hmm. And you made the point earlier, we expect a lot of 17 and 18-year-old young adults when they graduate from high school. They all get asked those 3 questions. Where are you going to school? What are you going to be major? What are you going to do the rest of your life? I think it's completely unfair and unrealistic that we put that much weight on young people when if most 20, 30, 40, 50-year-olds are honest with themselves, they're still trying to figure it out, right? There's still some sense of, man, what if I would have done that? I wish I could have done that. And so we think we're disrupting this space to give these young people a year-long, dedicated, deliberate experience to see over 50 different companies, hundreds of different careers, start to build a professional network, a business network, elevate their professional skills, their life skills. We teach them all how to budget, how to earn money, how to live on less than they make, how to invest, how to start to build wealth, and really adulting 101, how to cook, how to clean, how to change a tire. I mean, there's just this whole level of free space, mental space that these kids get to grow up and just start to figure stuff out.
You know, that goes to my point about preparing someone. And what you're talking about here is how you're preparing them to actually be independent in a number of ways, but also in finding their way with the skills and what they've been blessed and their talents and what they have and what they bring to the table. You know, what other skills do you believe that young people need really to make it in this particular economy? Because it's generationally, I think it's different from like when you and I went to school, but now I do think that it's a different set of skills. And I will say this for those who are listening, there is no such thing as a soft skill.
Yeah, no.
They are really hardcore skills that you need to have about that personal touch in knowing and connecting with people. Yeah. But what other skills do you think that they need, especially if they're going to go and be part of a corporation?
Well, I think one of the things that I talk about when I talk about with young people and this goes counterintuitive to a lot of societies, I tell them academics are not the most important thing, but education is. You need to be a lifelong learner. You need to read books. You need to study. And different than when you and I grew up, we didn't have the internet. You couldn't get on YouTube. You couldn't find stuff. The only way you could learn was either open a book somewhere or take a class. Mm-hmm. So the theory was, well, you got to go to college to learn what you want to. The students today don't necessarily need to go to college anymore. I'm not saying college is bad, but there is so much learning and education available that students can get on their own. And really, it's just elevating baseline stuff. We hear all the time from corporate leaders, kids don't show up on time. They want every other day off. They want the corporate office next week. They want to make $300,000. They don't want to really do anything. And so as sad as that is to say, it's just elevating those baseline skills of getting kids to understand showing up is just half the battle. If you have a drive and determination, I don't think necessarily what matters what your GPA was in high school, because nobody's going to ask. And that was me. You know, I was the kid that probably shouldn't go to school on a college. After 6.5 years, I failed my way through school, bounced around in my career, and I thought there's got to be a better way. And we're starting to prove out that if you take young people, put them around great professional leaders that will help them learn how to communicate, how to look somebody in the eye and shake their hand and carry on a conversation and ask good questions, those skills are incredibly powerful that I think get overlooked far too often in today's world right now.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And what happens is an adult will go and say, you know what, even public speaking. I think that's one where I'll have individuals saying, you know, I'm not good at public speaking. Well, the way you get good at it is that you practice it. And I think that even when we talk about it, I know I talk about it in the book, The Pen Leader, I talk about being sharp, education, but not necessarily, it doesn't have to be academic, education, and also experience. And
Yes.
those married together make you the sharpest, most effective leader, along with the traits of having a plan, being straightforward, and strength of character plays out. And I do think corporations and organizations, they want that strength of character coming in to
Yep.
their businesses.
It's so true. And I think that's the number one thing that companies and organizations are looking for is you can tell pretty early on when you're talking with the student if they have that drive and determination and that hunger and they're going to show up. They may not be polished, they may not be gifted, they can't stand up in public speak, but I've watched now for 2 years young people that show up at the start of the program that you would consider like wallflowers. And by the end, they're the ones that are up on stage, networking, passing out business cards, and just watching them flourish and giving them that time and space. And that's the thing about the fifth year that I love so much is you made the point earlier, is you're still dealing with young, immature to a point, 17-year, 18-year-old. Regardless of what the education system does, you can't speed the aging process up. You can't speed the development of the mind and the brain up. There's nothing you can do in the first 13 years of education to expedite that. But if you can get another year to have that time to start to develop all those skills of communication and public speaking, collaborating, critical thinking, solving problems, work-based learning stuff, and experiencing, getting out and actually doing meaningful internships, everything changes. I mean, and when you can find stuff that you're interested in, if you can find a young person like, I'm really interested in working with my hands, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what to do with that. And until now, they haven't really had a chance. And we're blessed to be able to work with so many organizations. You can take a young person that says, I'm really interested in these 3 things and go out and put them in that world for a while and let them go, this really isn't any good. I really don't like this, but this is really cool, and watch them come alive in a space that has never been able to been done before. So that's what I love the most about what we're doing. And I encourage every leader around the country to start to think differently about how you're looking at future talent. I say it's the long game. We live in an Amazon society, kind of where you order something that's delivered today, like instant access, instant gratification. And what we're trying to do is say, this is a longer game. If you want to invest in the young people in your community, you will reap the rewards. You can't just flip a switch and solve the talent ecosystem problem that we've had for decades. And that's what everybody thinks you can do. But it takes time to curate a young person's mind and to help elevate their skills. And when you do that and you give them the time and space, incredible things can happen.
Well, I would say that, especially my leaders who listen to the show, I know they're taking this in. Some of them might be thinking, how do I get a hold of this program? I'd like to try this out. How can they find and connect with you for junior achievement?
So the fifth year was created here in Northwest Ohio. I'm very proud of it. It's the first of its kind, and it's the only one in the country right now. And we're in our second cohort year of students this year, and it's expanding exponentially over the next couple years. We'll be adding additional campuses. So the students, when they graduate from high school, they get a college experience. In collaboration with one of our local colleges, Lord's University, the president, Bill Bissett over there, is an incredible visionary leader. When I brought this idea to him 2 years ago, it took him 30 seconds to go, yep, we're in. He saw it clearly because he knows that getting kids to go to college is not the problem. It's getting them to graduate that it's the problem, because many of them don't know why they're there. So in collaboration with Lord's University, that's where our students live. They live on the campus. They get a full college experience. They're in the rec center, in the meal court, and they're on student government. They're living in the campus housing, but they're not taking any traditional classes. They spend their year doing job shadows, site visits, work-based experiences, internships, professional skill workshops, personal financial workshops to help them adult and learn how to adult. Right now, it's only here. The goal is by fall of 2027, we will have added 2 more campuses and continue to expand. But any company that's interested, certainly in getting connected with our talent, can reach out to us. We have a website. It's myfifthyear.com. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Anybody, I would love to have somebody send me a message as well for anybody that's interested in getting involved, or for parents and students. It doesn't matter if you're a parent in San Francisco, Alaska, Hawaii, Florida. Right now, we currently have kids coming as far away as Dayton in our program. So it doesn't matter where you're from. You can come and be a participant in our fifth-year program, regardless of where you're at in the country.
Oh, that's excellent. So I'm going to ask you quickly.
Sure.
Are you reading anything? Are you watching anything?
I do. I'm reading, this probably isn't going to come as a surprise to you right now. I'm reading the book, The Anxious Generation, right now by Jonathan Haidt. And it was given to me 3 weeks ago by a couple teachers because I'm in the high schools a lot. I'm working with counselors, principals, and superintendent. And so I understand what's happening in that world as well. And somebody said, have you ever read this? I'm like, I haven't. And it has been eye-opening for me. And as a parent of 3 now young adults that grew up in that generation, what is the primary focus of this book, it's been eye-opening for me, but very insightful on how things are much different than when you and I came up versus where they're at now and how to communicate, how to think through how to help them. It's been very eye-opening. So it's a great read. I'm not done with it yet. I love it. I'm halfway through it. I've loved what I've read so far. From the personal side, I'm a pilot for fun, not for a profession, but it's really part of my life story. I went back and got my pilot's license 7 years ago because it's been a dream of mine to always pursue. And this goes back to our high school. When I graduated from high school, I wanted to be a pilot and I never figured it out and I never knew how to do it. So I've lived my whole life wondering what if, and finally just like, now's the time, you know, you only get so long and that was it. So I went back to get my pilot's license. So now I watch pilot documentaries. I watch NTSB crash reports. I watch stuff to how to learn to be a better pilot, you know, how to educate myself. It kind of goes back to, or kind of what you're talking about. You have to continue to be a lifelong learner.
Yes.
You have to keep educating yourself and learning. And if reading it isn't it, podcasts like this, watching YouTube videos, there is so much content out there in today's world that you can embrace and soak up. Now, no matter how you learn or how you best grasp stuff, anything is available right now, which I love. And so it's fantastic.
That's excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and educating about this opportunity that some may have thought about, but you made it a reality. So.
Not me. This is a community thing. It was an idea, but I assure you, without the dozens of corporations, high schools, colleges, community organizations, collaborative organizations, none of this exists without them. This is a true community-wide effort, which I am so proud of.
Well, thank you for bringing them all together to get it done, though.
Well, thank you. It's for people like you that have the voices that want us to share their stories, to get it out, to help others, and I couldn't be more thankful.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to our listeners who are, again, listening to the show and sharing it and liking it from all over the world. We so appreciate you. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, J. Foster Jewelers, family owned, offering the finest natural gemstones, stunning engagement rings, and brilliant diamonds. Thank you for your sponsorship as well. And of course, until next time.
The Pen Leader podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates Ltd., creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pen Leader podcast and share with others.